Hey everyone, Ms. Dempsey here. This is a lap guide for second to Spa-Francorchamps with the Toyota Super Formula. Let's get this started. Brake right after you reach the 100-meter mark. You'll eventually go down to first gear to help the car rotate. Then when you start to accelerate, go at half throttle while in first gear to build up the revs. And when you start to fully accelerate, quickly shift yourself up to third gear. You can easily go through Eau Rouge at full throttle. Take advantage of this curb on the left and start to turn in right after it ends. You can then take a little bit of advantage of this curb on the right, then you'll take more advantage of this curb on the left, and if you do this right, you should be able to once again take it flat out without having to use too much steering input. Brake before you reach the 50-meter mark. Brake as much as you can in a straight line, then ease off on the brakes as you start to turn in. You will need to do some throttle control through these first two turns, and you want to try to bring yourself to the left side of the track as soon as you can. Then when you turn right, you want to quickly lift off the throttle for a very short moment, then go back to full throttle. Look for the start of the curb on the left as that will be your next braking point. You want to go down to second gear for a short moment just to help the car rotate. Go back to third gear and carefully accelerate your way out. As you turn in, you can use a little bit of braking when you reach this shadow on the right, as that will help the car rotate a little bit before you start to fully accelerate out of that turn. For this turn, you want to start to ease off on the throttle just as you start to turn in. You'll be easing off the throttle for a short moment just to make sure that you don't end up hitting the AstroTurf. Then you can start to fully accelerate and then go up to 6th gear. Brake right after the curb on the left starts. Bring yourself as inside to the turn as you can, as you'll need to do some throttle control for these right and left hand turns. Then once again, just do some throttle control and carefully accelerate your way out. Look for the start of the curb on the left, as that is your next braking point. You want to take your time before you start to fully accelerate out of this turn, just so you don't end up hitting the AstroTurf on the left. Then take this turn flat out, and from here on out until you reach the bus-up chicanes, you just want to be very gentle with your steering input. And once again, just take this turn flat out. No need to brake, no need to lift off the throttle. Just be very gentle with your steering input. Before you reach the 100-meter mark, you want to brake as much as you can in a straight line. Try to get as close to the apex as you can. Go at half throttle in between these two turns. Straighten out the car and quickly go up to third gear as you start to fully accelerate. That's all for the lap guide. Let's go ahead and quickly talk about the strategies. For this race, you don't need to worry about the tire wear nor the fuel consumption rate. This is basically a flat out race. Now when you're about to start the race, you can bring the traction control to 1 so you don't have too much wheel spin as you start the race, and you can pretty much just keep it there until you complete the first turn. So you just want to try to get away from the carnage that's happening right now. Then here I just turn off the traction control and go about my race. Now we do have the overtake function on, so if you don't have it mapped out yet on your controller or on your wheel, make sure you do so before you start the race. Just go to the home page of Gran Turismo Sport, go to the settings, and then you'll be able to remap your controls. You also want to be a little careful as you navigate through this first lap, as your tires are going to be a little cold, so you're not going to have all the grip that you need to be able to go through these turns as fast as you do on the time trial version. We also have the weight from the fuel, so it's going to take a little bit longer for the car to accelerate to its top speed. So because of all this, you actually do want to be a little bit careful when you're going through some of the high-speed corners, like these two corners right here. For some reason, they almost kept on catching me out. I would almost end up understeering onto the AstroTurf, which would reduce my grip and potentially make me go off track for long periods of time. So to try to counter that, I lifted off the throttle a little bit earlier than what I normally do on the time trial version, or even just used a little bit of braking just so I can slow myself down just enough to make it through those corners without having to worry about making contact with the AstroTurf. Don't forget that whenever you're behind someone, you're not going to be having all the downforce that you need to go through some of these corners at higher rates of speed. So you want to just be a bit more aware of that, just slow down just a little bit, just to make sure that you don't end up understeering into the off-track area. So as we're going back to the start of the race, once again, you just want to try to be mindful of other people's spaces, even though it's going to get very chaotic here. You do want to brake early before the 50-meter mark, and either way, you just want to try to not be on the outside of the turn, as you don't want to get pushed off into the off-track area. And once things start to settle down, you just want to just try to keep in mind where other people are, just try to give them the space that they need, so you don't end up slamming each other and start getting really crazy penalties. And that's going to be the same story here, especially because you're getting all the slipstream. And yeah, so things will get chaotic. Just be prepared for shenanigans to happen. So going back to my perspective, we're on the final lap, and the tire wear is nothing to worry about. I don't have to worry about going to the pit stop for new tires. I have more than enough fuel to not even have to think about it. And even though if I was behind someone for a majority of the race, because the lack of downforce will kind of encourage scrubbing the tires, which will increase the tire wear, it'll still not be much to worry about. It won't be bad enough to where you need new tires once again. So yeah, so basically just go all out, have fun, just try to respect other people's spaces, and that's all for the guide. So this is Mr. MCA wishing you a good race, and I'll see you in the next video.